Welcome to Hire Power, the show where we cut through the noise and get real about hiring. I'm Kim Frost, founder of Frost Connections, and after 25 plus years in the search industry, I've seen what works and what absolutely doesn't. If you're a founder, CEO, VP, or HR leader who's tired of bad hires and ready to build a team that actually fits your culture and vision, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. In this episode, we talk about what you as a hiring manager can expect from a recruiter, regardless if they are your internal corporate recruiter or a third-party recruiter. So I have to be honest, every time I have to hire another recruiter for a client, my heart breaks a little. Why? Because this is exactly where our industry gets a bad rap. And today, we're going to talk about why. First and foremost, if your recruiter isn't doing the first interview, you don't have a recruiter. You have a resume forwarder. I once had a client, an SVP of a multi-billion-dollar company, whose recruiter was emailing over every applicant's resumes and doing it individually. No context, no summary, no phone screen, no initial contact. Just inbox spam. That's not even recruiting 101. It's laziness. Where's the value? How are they helping you? Spoiler, they're not. And honestly, this is where AI could do that job now. Which brings me to the next hard truth. If your recruiter tells you they don't understand the role well enough to screen candidates, that's a red flag. Before a job is posted, your recruiter should sit down and dig into what success looks like, not just the responsibilities and qualifications from an outdated job description. Anyone can copy and paste that. I'm talking about the nuances, the goals, the story behind the role, the kind of insight that lets a recruiter not just evaluate candidates, but sells the opportunity to the right people. And hint, AI can't do that either. When I was on the corporate side, I had a hiring manager who was completely burnt out by the past recruiting experiences. Zero value add. So when I joined, I had a lot to prove, but I also drew a line. No posting the role until we had our strategy session. 1 hour, that's it. And I made the case. It'll save time in the long run. Targeted outreach, better candidates, fewer interviews, faster hires. Of course, I had the leadership support, which is critical. And over time, that skeptical manager, she became one of my biggest advocates. Before she even considered opening a position, she'd say, let's get Kim on this first. Now, an ideal setup, your talent team has dedicated researchers or sourcers. Sourcing is a skill. It takes patience, curiosity, and let's be honest, some sleuthing magic. Some organizations have the sourcing team do the initial interviews and then hand over to the recruiters. Other research or sourcing teams will gather the target list and hand that to your recruiter. Either way, it works best when everyone plays into their strengths. Personally, I'm not a researcher. My magic is on the phone, telling the story, making the connections, building trust. Put me in front of the computer for too long, and I'm in the kitchen raiding the fridge. I'm not going to dive deep into the candidate experience today. That's a whole episode on its own. But let me just give you a teaser. Your candidate experience better reflect your values. And your recruiter, they own that experience. They're the face of your company to every single potential hire. So make sure you've got a polished candidate experience. This brings me to my next big one, the end-to-end ownership, or what we call full lifecycle recruiting. Your recruiter should be your partner from that first strategy session to day one of your new hires. Some companies split that process across multiple people. One person does the sourcing, another person does the screen, one person does the interviews with the hiring manager, and some then hand off to HR. But here's the thing. When a recruiter owns the full life cycle, they build a real relationship with the candidate. Over time, they notice behavior patterns, who follows through, who's high maintenance, who contradicts themselves. And your recruiter also gets to know you, your leadership style, what makes someone thrive on your team, what doesn't. That insight makes all the difference. And that's where a great recruiter owns their seat at the table. I've had hiring managers ready to extend an offer to candidates that we've presented, and I've had to say, I've got concerns, and here's why. Not because of a feeling, but because of specific red flags, knowing that person and knowing your culture. Patterns I've picked up on during the conversation. It's not always easy. I've risked upsetting a client in the short term, but the long term, that's what protects the business. That's what earns recruiters' trust. And finally, let your recruiter make the verbal offer. They've built the relationship. They'll spot any hesitation and address it right away. Plus, they've done all the heavy lifting to get to this point. Let them deliver the good news. It's the cherry on the cake. It's how we as recruiters measure our success. And frankly, we've earned it. And here's the thing, exceptional recruiters don't just move the process along, they elevate it. They bring competitive intel, they know what the market is paying, where your competitors are hiring, and how your brand stacks up. Oftentimes, your recruiter will know when there are organizational change, sales of a company, or layoffs before employees themselves. But they don't stop there. We also expand your pipeline. We don't default on the same tired candidate pool. We push for diversity of thought, experience, and background. We know how to challenge bias without calling it out awkwardly. We bring insight and integrity to the table. That's what it means to be a real partner. So if you're working with a recruiter who just sends resumes, you're not getting a partner. You're getting a paper pusher. Your hiring strategy deserves better. Your business deserves better. Really, this is how you are measured on success as a leader. Whether you're a CEO wasting time or head of talent looking to raise the bar, let's talk. At Frost Connections, we don't just fill roles. We build hiring strategies that work. Want to see what great recruiting looks like? Reach out. Let's raise the standard together. That's it for this episode of Hire Power. If you're ready to hire smarter, connect with me at frostconnections.com or at LinkedIn at Kim Frost. And if you've got something to say about today's episode, follow the show and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, hire smart, lead better, and remember, how you hire is who you become. See you next week. No fluff, just better hires.